we serve, which ultimately it's ambitious women, but in different ways, you know? So I'm glad that we could come together and chat about this, especially because I love the way that you work with women as a business coach.
Mhm.
One of the philosophies I've heard you say and share is that, listen, for early stage entrepreneurs, early stage project, book authors, any, these sort of things, the big belief that they need to overcome is that you have to have this like massive audience to be successful, to start seeing income, to start seeing whatever that turnover is. And I think that aligns so well with our conversation because it speaks to this like, I need more, I want more, but how do I get it? But that's sort of this
Yeah.
sort of frictional belief. And
Mhm.
what you've been able to do is create ease in these women's bodies, right? Create ease in their beings so they can kind of move past that belief and then start to receive the abundance in whatever that form is, selling books or income or
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So I thought that would be just a really beautiful introduction to you and the work you do and this idea of easeful abundance. So I'll take a pause there and let you introduce yourself and maybe just kind of speak to that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love this so much. And really, what you just said there is how this topic came through for both of us. We were both thinking about your women that you work with, and a lot of them are corporate and they might be really successful, but it's all coming with so much hustle and efforting and pushing and forcing. Or they might be in a place where they're trying to see success, but they are plateauing. They've never seen abundance, period, easeful or not. And when I was thinking about my audience, I realized that's where a lot of women entrepreneurs that I work with are too. Like they're either just stepping into the space and they're struggling to see their first clients or see their first sales, or maybe they've seen success, they've had the wins, but it's all come with a lot of, again, hustle, force, pushing, long weekends, bro marketing, like tactics, exhaustion. And so when we like looked at it, we're like, there are so many overlapping themes between
Mhm.
corporate, why corporate women and entrepreneurial women aren't experiencing abundance, and specifically easeful abundance. We're like, there's some unworthiness here, there's probably some people pleasing here, there's probably lack mentality here. Like there's a lot of overlapping themes. And one of them that you mentioned is like this more and trap. Like, in order to experience abundance, I've got to have more followers, I've got to have more likes, I've got to have more vanity metrics, or it's got to be more certifications or more years of experience, more education, another degree. And we see this in both of these groups of women for sure. And it's like this way that we block ourselves from experiencing and receiving all of the abundance that's actually available to us because we have these ideas of how it needs to go or what needs to happen first, or we think it needs to be harder than it really is. And
Yes.
so what I love to support women with is seeing their worth and opening themselves up to all the abundance that's available to them and doing it in a way that feels easeful so that it can actually support the rest of their life, so that the work that they're doing isn't taking away from their relationships, their body, their self-care, their freedom. Um, and so, yeah, that's kind of the inspiration behind this conversation, and a little taste as well of what I do with all my soulful entrepreneurs.
Yes. Thank you so much. There was so much richness there. I let's touch on that for a second because ambitious women,
Mm-hmm.
like we've talked about, that might be a professional in a 9 to 5 in the career corporate track like I was, and the women that I serve, or entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, soulpreneurs, mothers, these sort of things. But at the end of the day, when we say ambitious, that we're talking to you because you feel it inside. You have a vision, right? You haven't settled, which settling is settling, I don't mean in a bad way, but just whatever. There's women who are very grounded but have vision and want to see it through. But what I see with modern women is that the pendulum swings in one direction or another depending on the situation. So like you mentioned, that it becomes very hyper masculine, like you said, that always hustling, pushing. I like what you said, bro marketing. That's the first for me. Again, in the corporate setting, always just saying yes, yes, yes to the projects, yes to emails, pushing through their cycle. And the same thing with entrepreneurs, womenpreneurs, saying yes, yes, yes to anything and everything, pushing through, overworking. Or the pendulum swings in the other direction, and it could be the same person, but in a different situation where they're fawning, right? They've frozen, they freeze, they start to get the princess syndrome, that I need to be saved syndrome. So, where we want to help guide women, and that we've done in our work, is bring it back to that middle part where there's both feminine and masculine, because we need both.
Mhm.
Um, and it's empowered. It's not fueled by those sort of wounded masculine, wounded feminine, wounded maiden. So what does that look like? And that means that it's a little bit of the practical, obviously. Like, you have to show up and post, or you have to go to work and answer emails, right, from 9 to 5, so on and so forth. But it's also, I would love for us to spend some time in that feminine space
Mhm.
that is energetic. A little bit, it's inward, it's energetic, it's flow, um, it's magic. And
Mhm.
because we as women, many of us weren't raised to embrace that side, make that side feel valuable, loved, or seen, because it's very unseen. It's all unseen, actually. um, we lose touch with feeling empowered in that. So
Mhm.
then we either double up in our action taking, or we collapse and burn out, or we freeze. So I'd love to spend some time. I'd love to hear from you on, how have you worked with women to move into that space so they start to feel that, like, easefulness in their feminine, while
Mhm.
balancing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 practical masculine stuff.
Yeah, oh, such a beautiful question. I'm sure we can both share so much on this as well. Um, I think one of the first things that's coming to my mind is really understanding that both the masculine and the feminine, are meant to work together and support one another. So I really see it as this dance between the two. And I think, just like you spoke about, it's so easy to swing from one end of the pendulum, or the other, where we're hyper masculine or hyper feminine. But really, what we want to experience is this dance and flow between the two. And so I see it almost as starting often with the feminine, like starting with what is that vision? What is my desire? What lights me up? What are my gifts that I want to share with the world? Like, what's the message that my heart wants to bring out into the world? Connecting to that space first. And then how can I then support that vision, support my desire, support my gifts, support the healing I want to bring into the world with structure, with strategy? How can I amplify my message? How can I get it into the hearts and hands of more people? And so that's where things like a content plan would come in. That's where things like your marketing strategy would come in. But it's also where things like standards and boundaries come in. Like, what is the quality of client that I really want to call in? I want to call in someone that's going to really honor me and honor my time, and um, uh, see my value, and not make me like overextend myself to serve them. That's a huge way that we can really experience burnout. Um, it could also look like making sure that our price point is at a level that's enough for us to really be feeling resourced.
Mm.
And as we're taking the action, though, we're connecting back to our joy and our lightness and our inspiration. And so they're flowing back and forth between each other. And maybe you can speak a little bit as well to this flow, like how this looks in a corporate setting as well. But that's a little taste of how they both are feeding off of one another and fueling one another.
Yes, yes, yes. So much yeses. Um, Yeah, you know what's interesting is that what I found in my own journey and in my clients too is that when I was even in the corporate setting and very, very much in my masculine,
Mm-hmm.
go get them, you know, first one in, last one out, that whole thing. First one to, I'll take that project on, you know, and it's like, okay, got that promotion. Let me, and I'm already kind of plotting the next promotion and, or like, oh, that job is more money. I should just go to that job and this job. And so even when I was in that, I was still pretty connected to my spiritual side. So I didn't really connect like there was a feminine sort of energy behind it, but it was like like I would really embraced energetics and spirituality. So for me personally, even though I was making amazing corporate money at that time, I was still playing in this space of like surrendering and playing with the energetics around. So I would take walks and feel into what it is I wanted, feel into what it is I deserved. Start actually just asking out to my ancestors, asking out to the universe, the hologram. Sky daddy is what a lot of women are saying these days. I'm like sky mommy, you know what I mean? Asking out there and putting those things out there and actually getting to a point through yoga embodiment, and that at that time it was yoga, it was taking walks, and just really feeling at ease when I would put those things out there, that I was actually seeing like abundance come back to me. So I mean huge too, like $30,000, $180,000, um real actual upgrades, business class upgrades, not just points, you know, not like, oh, I manifested this and like cashing in points,
Yeah.
just people seeing me at the gate at the airport and them saying like, oh, are you traveling alone? Let me just upgrade you. Just that magnetism of like just attracting those type of people. But what I did the day before was like, you know, how can I get an upgrade? You know, how can I get an upgrade on this long flight and actually making it happen? So I say that just to say that, you know, there's something there. So even though I was hustling, I was still able to kind of play in that space.
Mm-hmm.
But I still experienced burnout. I still experienced that like not enough, I need more, especially when I wanted to move into the space of like moving my business forward. Even though I was like a Reiki master and had a Reiki business, it was still never enough, you know, because I never felt at ease. I was not connected to my feminine and not connected to the present moment. And even though I was seeing a lot of these manifestations and energetic kind of attractiveness and magnetism come through, it's like the body and the mind still felt uneasy when my Reiki clients weren't at the hundreds of thousands in droves and I wasn't booked out, you know, months in advance. So that's where it comes back to the coming back to the body and the womb is what helped me. So even in the corporate world, if you're in that corporate setting, that 9 to 5, it's very structured. I would still say there's still space for you to tap into that feminine and the womb. And the first place would be tracking your cycle, you know, and not just tracking your cycle, but cyclical living.
Mm.
So once you know, once you get a feel for what phase of your cycle you're in, you can actually schedule meetings around those the times that you're going more inward, premenstrual and menstrual, so on and so forth. I think that's like kind of a first step. And that second step, and this goes for I think all women's, all the ladies out there just trying to do the damn thing,
Yeah.
is you know, connecting back to like heart and soul. And you mentioned this in your work that you do, is what is that, you know, intention of why we think we need more money, or we want more money. One, maybe we need to pay the light bill and it's tight and it's either eat or pay the light bill. But two, it might be, are we getting influenced? How are we being influenced one way or another? And once you are connected to your like heart space, your soul space, and your womb, that's where it feels very grounded and empowered to be able to say yes or no, and then tap into your masculine to take the action forward to the thing that feels aligned.
Mm-hmm.
For corporate women, that might be a new job, a new position, that might be cutting back, adding more. For entrepreneurs and healers and authors, that might be, maybe it's taking a side hustle, maybe it is doing that collaboration, maybe it is taking the client on or not taking the client on, but
Yeah.
it's first done, starts in the body.
Yes. Oh, so much gold in what you just shared. And the last piece about the importance of really connecting to our desire and our heart, like that was such a big turning point in my journey, because when I'm
Mm-hmm.
still in corporate and I was also teaching yoga on the side and burning myself out in so many different directions, I realized I eventually had a health crisis that really woke me up, and I realized like I just fell into this life from following all of the shoulds, from people pleasing, from checking off all of the boxes, from doing what everyone else around me was doing, and also not seeing any evidence of women living their gifts and living on purpose and living in a model, working in a model that really supports us being in our feminine. I hadn't seen any or hardly any evidence of that. And so when I really connected to, what do I crave? What does my heart want? What is my alignment? And I started to seek out the evidence of women who reflected that possibility. So much opened up for me, and it gave me the courage to walk away from a life and a job and relationships that weren't working for me and step into all that were. And then also within that, I love this other point that you mentioned about practically like tracking our cycles and getting more in touch with our body and our energy. And what I have found, and what I work with so many clients around, is actually learning to relate to our rest, our play, our pleasure as, yes, just our birthright. Like they're not things that have to be earned. It's not like we only get rest once we've put in enough hours or once we've hit the next milestone. Like detaching those two, but also what all of us have found is that when we're in the rest, when we're in the surrender, when we're in play or pleasure, when we're enjoying our lives, that it actually fuels our creativity. We often will get like the next business idea, or we'll bump into someone who's going to be our next collaborator in our business, or we'll just be recharged in a way that allows us to take on more clients. Sometimes we're not making money, or we're not getting the promotion, we're not taking on the clients because we're already so burned out. We're energetically saying, nope, life, God, universe, I can't handle anymore. I can't take anymore. Don't send any more my way. And so when we're embracing rest, we're embracing play, and we have more capacity, we can step into so much more. We can receive so much more.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. No, you're on the road. Get it. Take us home. Take us to
It
church,
was,
girl.
I back around and say two things. One is, there was so much in what you shared that I wanted to respond to. So one is like giving ourselves the permission to do work that fuels us and lights us up and brings us joy, and that we look forward to getting out of bed in the morning to pursue. Like that is a path to abundance. Do like being in your gifts. And it's not to say that there won't be hard work. It's not to say that you're not going to be creating momentum and taking inspired action and showing up and committing and being consistent. Like those things you will be doing, but there will be a quality of ease when you're actually in your purpose, when you're actually in your gifts. And the other thing that I think both corporate women and entrepreneurial women both can be thinking about is, when you're thinking about like your worth, your contribution to your clients, to your office, to your company, your value, I really want to encourage women to expand the way that they're thinking about that.
Yes.
Like your value is not just like, what can I do for these people? But it's also like your energy. How do you make people feel? Your ability to listen to them, your ability to inspire them, um, your story, like what you, if you're like in the space that I'm in, like me telling my story, us telling our stories, being an inspiration, being a pillar of possibility for people, like that's valuable too, being a safe space for people. And so I think also expanding the way that we're thinking about value and seeing ourselves and seeing our worth can help us to really own um, our contribution to in whatever work capacity we're in, and stop undercharging ourselves, undervaluing, overextending ourselves, bending over backwards, and just really stand in all that we are and all that we bring.
Mm, thank you, Kristen. All of that was gold. All of that is so true. And I know when we first talked that we wanted to keep this live, a nice size bunch, packed with value, packed with inspiration and comfort, but also not going to take up someone's entire afternoon unless they want to hang with us all afternoon.
I'm sure there's a few people that would want to hang with us
I
all day.
mean, it's Friday and we're just like, I left my tea in the other room because I'm like running from room to room to try and find the technology. Anyway, I've let it go. I think that as we come to a close, maybe we do like a little ping pong on kind of shifts to make or next steps to make, and we'll just kind of flow with that a bit. And I'm happy to begin.
Yeah,
Um,
go first.
Actually, I was inspired by something you said. The truth that, first off, life in general, man or woman, or any gender, it's fun and play, but particularly for women, people with wombs, pleasure and play is our birthright. Pleasure and play is our power source. Just like Kristen said, like when we're in the pleasure and play, that's when the creativity is flowing. You become the sorceress. You get the ideas. Your system is at ease. But it's interesting is that if you try that,
Mm-hmm.
try that as an experiment. Take an afternoon off and see how your system feels. It's like as the observer, is it tense? Are the alarm bells going off in your mind, and where in your body is there tension where it feels unsafe to be resting? It feels unsafe to be away, not doing. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a first indicator to become the observer and just gain the awareness without that sort of emotionality around it, or drowning it out with watching Netflix or drinking and partying, or just continuing to work until you fall asleep and get back up, and it just goes on and on and on. It's like, let's see how my system feels if I just did nothing, if I just relaxed.
Yeah.
So from there, that's when I think you can, you get that like that set point reading, and then you can go from there. So I'll take a pause there.
Oh, love that so much. And I'll just share from personal experience too. Like, it's expect that it's probably going to feel really uncomfortable the first time that you do that. Like, and that's okay. Your body is totally accustomed to a completely different way of operating. It could be uncomfortable, it could be wildly like painful. You don't want to be there. It's like, and that's okay. That's to be expected. I also love thinking about this in like in edge work. If you've ever
Mm-hmm.
done edge work, just leaning into like that next edge of what would it look like for me to just rest, like invite in 1% rest into my day today. What would it look like for me to just take a micro rest today? And that's kind of a way that we can lean into these new ways of operating and relating to ourselves and our work in just a micro mini way that's not going to be overwhelming to our system, or that's not going to jack up our nervous system, but it's just like, let me just dip a toe in. What if I did just take a little nap today, or just go to the park for 20 minutes today in between my work, step out into the sunshine for a moment? Or what if I just brought in beauty and pleasure and play into my work? Like, what if I actually, instead of like forcing myself to execute today, I like just followed my inspiration and explored a new creative idea that I have? What if I just did that one time this week? Or what if I create like a beautiful workspace that's going to feel nourishing to me? I don't just wake up and roll out of bed and open my laptop, but I like brew a cup of tea, I diffuse essential oils. Like, what if there's little ways that I bring in the new qualities that I want to experience, so that I can see through experience, through observation, like you said, this is actually safe, and this can support me, this can serve me, and this can actually take me farther than the way I've been leading myself, which is hustle and force and pushing and grinding. Like, what if I could go farther this way?
Oh my gosh, I love that. It's so aligned because I've been speaking about in my stories, you know, this thing of micro walks, you know, me taking a micro walk throughout my day and how that just brought so much clarity for me, so much more ease into my body. When years ago, that was no way my nervous system would allow me or my mentality would allow me to do that. You know, it was just like crossing things off the list. Just cross it out, cross it out, cross it out. Okay, I got everything crossed out on the list. Now I deserve, as you mentioned, now I deserve a drink or,
Uh,
you know, a meal. And it's like, body just needed some sunshine, girlfriend.
oh, oh my goodness, yes.
So I'll do one more. And I have a note. There's some juicy ones on here. I'm just like,
I
oh, time,
know.
time. Well, I would say for me a big one is you know, doing some mother money wound work and some father money wound work. Um that's going in deeper, you know, but that's where we get to really name and give a voice to and start to release that ancestral and lineage patterning, those learned beliefs and psychology that's fueling that hustle, that's fueling the freeze. Um, and it's when we start to explore that a little bit more that awareness is just 90% of it, or being able to cry about it or rage about it for 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, you know, whatever it is, but to just shine a light on those things, just shining that light does so much. And that literally does release the binding around the energetic binding around your hips, your womb, your jaw, and you can actually ground down more and your sacral opens up more. And so the final thing I'll add is that I feel as if there's, you know, women have so many archetypes and personalities within ourselves, and we only try to just show that one real good, successful, like good girl version or, you know, whatever. But, you know, embracing that wounded maiden, that wounded inner girl inside, giving her a voice and crying, raging, kicking, punching, whatever it is you need to do. Don't punch anyone, but punch a pillow.
A pillow.
Punch a pillow. And, you know, again, do it for 5 minutes, 5 days, whatever it takes. And then acknowledge that you're also the mother. So you can mother that girl.
Mm.
And then also acknowledge and play, you know, lean into micro edge. I love that. Lean into the version of you that does exist inside, that is the sorceress, you know, the sorceress with unlimited co-creational potential. And it comes from her womb. And play her for a bit. Take a walk, you know, work with rituals, allow that space for God and energy and ancestors to come in and help. And because you're at ease and allowing, your nervous system reacts the same way. And then universe, God, matrix, the hologram reacts in the same way. So acknowledging, you know, playing with those archetypes, the wounded maiden, inner child, the mother, the sorceress, and then, yeah, the masculine, the protective, empowered masculine. That's then like, okay, I can, let me get back on email. Let me design this thing. Let me research this way to invest or whatever, because we're talking about income and money and abundance. Well, it's not just praying to the ancestors, but also what's your portfolio like, you know, and those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I'll pause there.
Oh, well, So beautiful what you just said, and thank you for letting us into the depths of your work and the ways that you work with women as well. With that last piece and shift that you mentioned. And I guess what I'll share while we're on the topic of money is doing some money shadow work.
Ooh.
So just kind of thinking about your money story, where your money beliefs came from,
Mm.
what your dominant thoughts and beliefs are about money and feelings about money. Um, because one of the things that I found within myself and I see with my clients all the time is if we are carrying negative limiting stories about money, or if we have fears about money, it's another way that we'll go energetically, nope, don't send me more. I don't want more. I don't want to hold more. And so some of the common things that I see are fears of the responsibility. We're afraid of the responsibility. And especially if we're already feeling burned out, we're already feeling maxed out, then actually getting more money, receiving more can just feel like more to take on. It can also feel like a loss of freedom. Like if I'm, because there's such a strong association between money and having to work more, having to put in more hours, more time, having to do more work to then manage all of the money, right? And so there can be this fear that I'm going to actually get less rest. I'm going to have less play. I'm going to have less pleasure. I'm going to have less time to pour into my relationships. It could also be fears of how are the people in my life going to see me differently if I'm making money? Like, how would I feel if I got visible in
Right.
my business, in my work, and people saw me making money or saw me succeeding? Would people support me? Would people be against me? Would people try to tear me down? And so if we're holding those fears, if they're in the shadow, in our unconscious, they're still running the show. They could actually be keeping us in a freeze state. We're not looking. Just like you said, awareness is such a big part of this. And so bringing all of those stories, those fears, the shadows into the light, into the awareness, looking at them, questioning them, challenging them, like, is this really true? And then also, how do I want to respond? If my fear is that that I'm going to lose my freedom, like, how can I respond in a way that will ensure that I'll actually have more freedom through this money? Or how can I make myself feel better, safer to step into the responsibility that will come with this versus like afraid of this? Or are there conversations that I need to have with close people in my life about like, yeah, how would our dynamic change if I were to make money? Would you see me differently? Would you be in support of me? Like I've had some of those conversations with people in my life. That's kind of more of a masculine way that we can set ourselves up to step into a new level. And so, yeah, doing some shadow work. And maybe there could also be some journaling that you do, releasing the old story, or some also release like movement, some voice release work, some tears might be shed. Like you can tap into all of that as well here. But that's what I want to offer is do some money shadow work.
Yes, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. That is literal gold. Um, gosh, so many things hit so hard. Um I think that the money shadow work, it combined with like womb work, all of that just starts to move that awareness and observation into like actually grounding and expansion and allowing and making these decisions like you know what, I actually have to take dial something down for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or take something off my plate so I can heal, so I can expand my capacity. Then I know I'll be able to bring more in, more clients in, more money in, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. That's amazing.
Yeah, so true. And sometimes it will feel initially like you are slowing down or leaning back or pulling out a little bit, but know that you're doing that in order to expand yourself, to open yourself, to eventually speed up, move forward. So it's normal if it feels a little bit like that first. When you're first stepping into this work, it's going to feel a little bit like, wait, this feels inverse of how I normally move myself forward. It feels like I'm stepping back, but you are stepping back to step forward.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's another thing about the feminine that this society does not deem worthy, and we're rewriting that narrative that, you actually can step back, step back. Retreating is usually probably the best thing you can do. And knowing the difference between freeze and fawn versus a conscious retreat, knowing that's what body, mind, soul needs, with the intention that I'm just going to bloom in the spring. It's in the spring, but first I need the fall, and I need this winter,
Yeah.
whatever that.
Oh, we could we
I
could say
know we keep jamming.
so much to that. There's so much nuance there, and we could talk a lot about that. Maybe we'll have to do another live on that. Like, when is it time? When is it really time for me to step back? And when am I actually in like a freeze or fawn response? And how can I discern between the two? We could
Mm,
totally riff.
I love that. I love it. Put it on the calendar, everyone.
Yeah,
We promise technology will work next time.
I know.
So let's start to wrap up. I want to know, say, how can folks reach you? I mean, obviously this is your Instagram, but and what you're offering these days, and I'll also share about myself as well.
Yeah, 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 of course. So yeah, obviously right here on Instagram is a great place to find me. The link in my bio has all my other links. I do have a podcast, Goddess Talk Podcast, and then websites there and all the things. So link in bio. And then right now, the main way that I'm working with women is just through one-on-one coaching. I love to go deep one-on-one with clients. So it's one-on-one 3 to 6 month coaching for early stage soulful entrepreneurs. So I work with coaches, healers,
Mm.
teachers, course creators, some product-based businesses as well. And the info page for that is in the link in my bio. People can also book a free discovery call if you want to connect with me personally and see if it's a good fit. I think that's everything. You tell us, where can people find you? What do you have coming up? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, I want to say book that discovery call with Kristen. As you can see, she is like butter. She's so grounding, and there's so much heart and so much soul that she pours into you. Kristen is so present, and the desire to help, the desire to bring out that gift and help you shine it even so much brighter in an easeful, like flowy, just chill way, man. Like chill vibes,
Of
authentic chill vibes. That's how I would just describe you.
oh, so
Um,
much leaving that reflection.
with that, yeah, quickly, here on Instagram is a great way to find me. I work with ambitious women. Most of them are career and professionals. Some of them are healers and entrepreneurs, and helping them reconnect to their feminine, reconnect to the power of their womb, so they can balance the hustle and be able to live their life with more joy, more radiance, more magnetism, in love, money, relationships, and I think most importantly, purpose, baby. We want these women out there living their purpose and uplifting the world. And right now, I am actually hosting a womb circle, a women's circle, specifically around healing the financial womb connection, getting to the depths of that mother and father wound, getting to the depths of those shadows, and then reconnecting to your goddess blueprint, who is the queen on her throne and empowered and at ease. And so you can expand and hold more. Yes, ma'am.
Love that.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was like, did I mention? Oh, so that's at the end of the month, and I have a wait list now, so you can DM me for the wait list, and then it will be announced a little bit later, maybe at a higher price. So you want to get on that wait list.
Amazing. Everybody go check out Jordana. Jordana is such a powerhouse. Like, you are such a powerful, powerful being, and yet your wisdom runs so deep, and it is felt, it is palpable, and you bring so much wisdom. It's such multifaceted wisdom as well to the work that you do, and just help women, modern women, heal in all the ways that they need it, so they can be on purpose but also be healed and at ease and in abundance, and connected to their bodies and connected to their wombs, and feel like they can thrive in this modern world but aren't disconnected from who they are at their core, at their soul, their feminine essence. And it's just so needed at this
Mm.
time. So if what Jordana spoke to today spoke to you, then get in her world, stay in her world, join her circles. You want this woman in your life for sure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. This was even more collaborative than I thought. I mean, it's been collaborative at the from the get, but it's just been so beautiful speaking with you on this.
You too, my love. And we did our best to keep it short. We went a little over, but we just couldn't help ourselves. There's too much to share.
Yeah, appreciate that. Take care, everyone. Have a
All right, thank
beautiful
you guys for being with us.